record now.
Okay.
So that's what I've never done before. And I'm going to hit go live, but we will call this Friday Faves 8-4.
9-4.
Oh, sorry. Thanks. See, that's why we do this together.
That's right.
Sawing logs, sleeping, who knows. Let's see. Okay. Cross post to Challenge Doctor. Might as well get a few more eyes on it.
That's right.
Save. All right. And you ready to go live?
Thumbs up.
What did you say?
Said thumbs up.
Okay.
Dun 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 dun.
We are live.
Are we live?
I always feel like saying we're live at the Apollo. All right.
Maybe not at the Apollo. We're live in our individual offices across the country from each other.
That's right. We'll have to think of another phrase, not live at the Apollo.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Friday Faves on September 4th, and we are in Austin, Texas. Myself and Dr. Kevin Cuccaro is out there in Oregon, and we are going to do our typical ritual of talking about our favorite thing of the week. You want to go first?
No.
No? Okay.
I want you to
well, fine. I will go ahead. I actually made a note. I made a note to myself.
Very good. Very good.
So that I would not forget what my Friday fave was or is. And it turned out it was yesterday. I was watching TV, which does, I pretty much only watch TV with my husband. I have a hard time just sitting still at times.
You?
So, yeah,
Okay.
busy bee. But I try to be present and enjoy and slow down, and I don't know, try not to race off into the future. You might as well just be present, enjoy relationships, which is super important. I know as physicians, we tend to be trained to go, task everything and just keep working. But I couldn't help when my husband called me back after walking away from the TV. He's like, you got to watch this commercial. Do you know which commercial I'm talking about?
No, because we don't have live TV, so I very rarely see commercials.
Well, then you won't know anything about this. So
right.
You'll have to find it on the internet. Probably you can find it. But it was a very short commercial, but it was with Serena and Venus Williams. It was about the US Open, and it was a Nike commercial, and it was them talking about this whole life of living tennis and how everyone is just this overall thing you think of, like how many how many tournaments they've won and how many games they beat each other on, and always making these comparisons. So from the outside looking in, our perception is kind of seeing how they match up with each other. And the biggest impact of that commercial was right at the end when they said, we've never looked at it by the way everyone else has. We thought of how we both have changed everything about tennis, and especially when you think about them both being Black females that have won so many tournaments and titles, that they've literally changed the face of tennis. Mm-hmm. And it kind of smacked you in the face, because most people that are listening to that commercial are like, oh yeah, she won this many and this many, and comparing them, and it was just a totally different lens that they were looking at. And I started crying. And so I thought right afterwards, I was like, I got to share this, because it was so profound, and it was a short commercial, but it was so meaningful and impactful that I just think it's good for people to kind of step back and realize, what's really important about sports or anything that you're doing in life. So that was my Friday fave.
Well, I think that's a great Friday fave, and it's kind of interesting points, because there's two pieces of that. There's like the public service announcement, mm-hmm. But then it makes me think, okay, that's a powerful statement as a corporate steward and a brand steward, and you want to make the world a better place. That sounds awesome. But then I have to ask, did it make you want to go buy Nikes? Did it serve the marketing purpose?
It just, well, it made me want to keep my Nike stuff for sure. I mean, I probably don't need any more, do we really need more clothes in society? No, I mean, I there people would have different statements to make about different brands and whatnot, but no, I think it just, I think I was more focused on them, but of course, subconsciously, psychologically, that brand is imprinted on your mind because they created a meaningful commercial. So, I mean, sure, does it make me more likely to buy a Nike? Possibly, but I think it makes me appreciate just the amount of work. And I mean, really, sports, a lot of it's entertainment value as well. But they have such a huge platform, and they have the potential to truly change the world because, I mean, look at us as humans. We want to be inspired by something. We might catch on as a kid that we want to play the sport, or they don't realize something's possible until they actually see someone that maybe they identify with and they go down that path. And so it gives you maybe a passion for your life later in life. So, I mean, I think it has a lot of meaning, and they really can change the world one person at a time. So that's my take.
Well, I that's a wonderful take. There's so many more things that we can discuss about that, but that, and we haven't gotten to my Friday fave, but I want to kind of,
I know
that thing is representation, right? Because that's a big deal. And we certainly know with the way the summer's gone and Black Lives Matter movement, and hopefully people have a greater appreciation of what that actually means and what representation means. Because I'm thinking about, so this is obviously a tragedy this week, was Chadwick
Boseman.
Chadwick
Boseman.
Oh yeah, it's Chadwick Boseman, or commonly referred to as Black Panther, and his loss, right? And people think, well, that was a great movie, but the difference that he made as a Black male to an entire generation of Black children, showing this is me, I'm a Marvel superhero, is so profound. And people poo-poo this thing about, well, you know, why does it matter? Well, it freaking matters if you're not seeing yourself on the TV.
Right.
You know, and I think about this a lot with the shows that are on now as compared to the shows that I grew up with. And minority representation is so much more embedded in it now. And that's a good thing, right? We want to celebrate the diversity, particularly if you live in a country that's the United States, where we're, you know, that, and there's, you know, we're not only built on it, but it's one of the strengths. Like, I get so upset when we're seeing all this stuff when, you know, you've traveled all over the place, I've traveled all over the place. And the thing that I have not necessarily seen duplicated in the places that I've gone to is the melting pot that we have here, where, you know, where else can you walk down the street and have 42 different types of cuisine than in the United States? You know, a major metropolitan city, maybe, but I've been to a lot of major metropolitan cities that don't have that ethnic diversity, ethnic change in their restaurants. And so that's just something to be celebrated too. And we should be applauding it more. And I'm glad that there's commercials out there and people want to complain about whatever. Representation matters, and being able to identify yourself is huge. So yeah, I love your Friday fave. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, well, thanks. Well, and just to add, you know, a little something to it, you just think about if you're one of those people that inside, you know, listening to what we say is kind of like irritates you, or it's just something like you're uncomfortable with it, and inside you just want to be like, I'm just going to shut them off right now. You know, think about it. Like, if you're looking at me versus someone who, you know, like Venus Williams, and we just have darker skin, it's, you know, if you have a feeling that's negative about someone, I mean, think about it. Think about, why is it that you feel that? I mean, it can be an embedded bias. It's, you know, indoctrinated in you from your family, from your culture. But have you ever thought, like, you've really, I mean, some people, it is something, brown eyes, blue eyes, and you're going to judge them differently. But not very often you see people really judging someone completely different if they're light brown hair versus, you know, gray hair. I mean, or brown hair versus, and so it's I think it's really good to reflect on the fact that we're such a visual culture. And this problem is, even, you know, as much as I love Australia and New Zealand, there's Aboriginals in Australia, there's the Maori in New Zealand, and they're darker complexion. And believe it or not, most whites had invaded those countries and done horrible, horrific things that nobody would even be able to withstand watching. Most people would not be able to deal with that. So, you know, it makes you think, how is it we could look at someone and look down on them and think of them as animals just because they're darker, yet everybody wants to be sunbaked and have a tan. So, you know, the ironies are like prolific when you look at how we just have this very visual aspect to our culture. We either overemphasize the things that are really not relevant because you see them and they seem dramatically different, or we underestimate the things we can't see. Like I said, a virus, when you can't see it falling out of the sky about to spike right in the middle of your body, like, you know, it's just, you don't take it as seriously. So it's understandable, but I think we have to step back and think about the fact that we are visual, and we have to like think about, be aware of maybe where this is stemming from, and own it, and be okay with working through some challenging feelings. So I didn't expect this conversation to go in this direction, but I think it's kind of it's I think a practical thing to talk about from time to time, because we all have our own biases. I mean, all of us have to check ourselves. So there you go.
Well, and that's one of my favorite things, is like, I love talking about, you know, perception and psychology and biases. And
Yeah.
you touched it, is we are very visual, but we all have this perceptual lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my thing, and a lot of the things that I do outside of the change physician, is I'm always challenging people's belief systems. And so what I loved is, if you're feeling a reaction from this, and you mentioned this, the question that you next should ask is, why am I reacting to this? Not, you know, immediately being reactive and saying, oh, those people are bringing on their social justice discussion, which I don't think we've done. All we said was representation, folks. But if it's causing some sort of reaction in you, is just take a moment and pause and say, well, why am I reacting this way? And you know, we're not trying to change who you are or make you believe what we believe or anything else, but the more that you sort of examine your own belief systems, and the more you understand why you have reactions, physical, mental, emotional, as we do, the more control we have over who we are. And I think for sure, when it comes to the change physician, that's a message that we're trying to bring, is that we all have more control over who we are and the choices we make. But the first step of that is becoming aware of why we make the choices and why we have the reactions and that we do. So
yeah, if you want more joy in your life, hating on people is not the way or the path to that typally. So
yeah, not the path, but why do you hate the way you hate?
yeah,
You know, what's the reasoning behind that?
yeah.
I always like this. What's the opposite of love? And people say it's hate, and I'm like, no, that's not the opposite of love. Hate and love actually are almost two sides of the same coin, because there's a massive amount of passion between either one of them, right?
Yeah.
So the opposite of love is actually apathy, no
Mm-hmm.
feeling at all, where you just stop caring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you have such passions around whatever the subject matter? But anyway, so really good. Really, your Friday fave is so much better than mine. It's like,
Oh, well, you just never know where yours is going to go. Let's try it out.
well, mine, this is so, because I was going to like, I have these little two, you know, one was watermelon juice, which I still love and is awesome. But this one was going to actually be Zoom, because I've been doing these trainings, and I do a lot of training by Zoom. And every time I'm on it, I'm like so appreciative of I'm going to be nice to Zoom. They don't get paid for anything to do it, but they're the one I use. I was going to say some general, you know, some sort of video platform, but Zoom has been very good to me. And it's just an absolute joy to be able to interact with people, to interact with you, to interact with the people that I'm working with in some of my other programs, and to feel connected. Like, one of the things that has happened during this COVID pandemic is I've done a lot of presentations in the past where I was, you know, kind of doing this presentation, but I never had the video on. It's like, well, nobody wants to see me. Well, I started doing this thing where I have the video on and the participants' video on. And not people get shy, and I totally understand. I get shy in a lot of things, and I want to turn my video on. But when we have that, and I can interact and I can see them, and I'm like, raise your hands if you know, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, what do you agree on this? And it has been just an absolute joy. So thank you, Zoom, for being my Friday fave. It may not be as good as representation, but it really provides a sense of connection in this weird time that we live in right now.
Well, it's also the path by which we provide the Friday faves. Believe it or not, if you're watching us on Facebook, this is actually, if you have a way actually on Zoom that you can package it directly live onto Facebook at the same time. So if you're writing comments, which I've had someone write comments for, and I'm not really looking at that right now. It's very distracting trying to do that same time without someone helping you out. But it allows us to do these Friday faves pretty flawlessly, and it immediately saves it as a post. And so, you know, I'm appreciative of it for a lot of other things that I use it for. And in fact, my husband and I are working on another project that's more related to his world of sports, and that's going to allow us, you know, to interact with someone from Australia. So, it's free. You don't, back in the old days, and if you were paying for a freaking telephone call to Australia, hello, I've had to pay that $100-something bill. Even back in the early 2000s, maybe early 2000s. So, this is a way for free communication that you couldn't have even imagined. It's so much cheaper, even for paying a small little monthly fee to Zoom, which is like negligible for the benefit.
That makes me think, because we got rid of our landline, like, I don't know, a long time ago. Like,
yeah. What percentage of people have landlines still?
Well, my mom just got rid of hers, like, I think this year. So, if my mom's getting rid of hers, I'm assuming, yeah, but we should look at, that would be an interesting data point.
Interesting little statistic that, who knows what benefit it is, but it's
people don't think this, right? Because I remember growing up and you're talking on the and they don't remember the time when you had the corded phones and you'd have to stretch it out really far to get into your room or the closet so that your parents,
or the rotary dial. I had one of those. Yes. And they're like, people don't know how to use those things. Yeah. They're kind of cool, but they're, not real practical for our digital world now.
In long distance phone calls, they're like, like 35 miles away, and all of a sudden that becomes long distance. Like, what do you mean long distance? This is insane. What a world we live in. So. Well,
I think that would cap off our Friday faves. What do you think?
I think that's good. I will want to say is we have some really fantastic videos coming out. Actually, I'm going to do that now, just for if people have not seen them. We had some great episodes that were released this week. I know Austin Chang was on with his on social media, which was a great one. I think Donna Coriel was on as well. Maybe she was last week or this week, but we've had some great videos there. And who am I missing? Do you know who else was published this week?
Did you say Dr. Chang?
I did.
Oh, okay.
He was, and I was trying to look at YouTube, but YouTube is so hard for me to find.
Yeah, we have quite a few, and
Donna, Austin. We had Josh last week, which is an awesome episode.
Josh Umber.
Kathy Mock, another one great person. Hers was last week. So we have some really, really good ones coming up, such as Diana Lake, who came in a random episode. So she had to have an episode published before we did the one on the mud bikini kind of controversy. Right. That's coming up next week along with Vicky Chan. So these have been a lot of fun. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you love the Friday faves. But if you haven't had a chance, go check out the YouTube channel to see the videos there. We're on iTunes now, Spotify, iHeartRadio, which I just got the notice for, a couple others. And of course, thechangephysician.com if you want to sign up for the community there, where we'd love to have you. And I guess that's it for me.
That sums it up for me too. That's awesome.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Right. We'll see you soon.
Take care.